Every problem you are trying to solve or any process you are trying to improve must be done with data. So you know what is your starting point or baseline and focus the resources on where the data drives you. A check sheet would be a good way to collect that data. In this video, we will go over what is a check sheet, what are the advantages of using them, what are the most common types of check sheets, what are the steps to create a basic one, and we will create one example together. Let's get to it. A check sheet is a simple tool to collect, organize, and analyze data. It can be a form or a table that systematically registers data. What are some of the advantages to use a check sheet? It is easy to use, it provides a structure for a uniform data collection, it offers an effective way of displaying data, it can identify the cause of a problem at the source, it is the first step in the construction of other graphical tools like Pareto chart, scatter plots, or histograms. And the biggest advantage is that a check sheet can be easily adaptable to a wide variety of purposes. What are the steps to create a check sheet? Define clearly what events, problem, or process are to be recorded. Define the traceability of the check sheet, like when, who, what, where. Define the period of data recording and suitable intervals. Design the check sheet. Always make sure it is easy to understand. Train all the people that will be involved in the data collection. Perform the data collection during the agreed period of time, and report the findings. I will give you a personal tip here. At the time of collecting data, don't make it complicated for your team. Give them a piece of paper that they can easily handle in their operation. Reduce the distractions of a fancy tablet or a computer trying to reduce the steps. This normally goes the opposite direction. The purpose of a check sheet is what defines the types. Here are 4 of the most common check sheets. Defective item check sheet. This type of check sheet is focused on capturing the kind of defects and their percentages. For example, this is a check sheet from a final inspection of a welding process. The period of this check sheet is a week. Capture the quantity of units inspected and captures 5 categories of defects: surface scars, cracks, incomplete, voids, and others. This check sheet tells the improvement team which defects have more occurrences to concentrate the efforts on those to reduce the total defects. Defect location check sheet. This type of check sheet is useful when external defects such as scratches, damages, spots of dirt are found on products. This kind of check sheet is also known as a concentration diagram. For example, this is a check sheet of damages on a radiator tubing. The period is 1 day. The check sheet doesn't capture the kind of damages, it's more focused on the location of the damages. Adding dots to the sketch of the tubing to identify where the defects are occurring, providing clues to the improvement team on where to look in the process that is causing the damages. Process distribution check sheet. This type of check sheet collects continuous data from production processes, like diameters, heights, weight, and other metrics. This kind of check sheet can take the form of a histogram or at least will be the basis to create one. For example, this check sheet of a production process captures the external diameter of a radiator tube. The check sheet period is a month. The inspector must capture the diameter of one tube from 3 different hours of the day: 7 a.m., 11 a.m., and 3 p.m. The dimension intervals are listed on top, and the inspector outlines every time the measurement falls under each value. At the end of the period, this check sheet looks very close to a histogram. Then the improvement team can add specifications to the check sheet and analyze. Is there a single peak or 2 peaks in the data? Are the values skewed to one side or the other? Are there isolated values? Is the width of the distribution greater than the specification limits? And others. Checkup check sheet. This type of check sheet is used to keep records of operations performed, to make sure that nothing is overlooked. It can contain blank spaces to capture data or check marks to confirm a step was completed. For example, this check sheet of a production process captures the setup of an equipment to process radiator tubes. This is performed once at the beginning of every production shift and every time the equipment changes the specification of a tube. Captures oil level, pressure level, pump motor voltage, which nets are used, and other characteristics. Like I said before, the check sheet can be easily adaptable to almost any situation. Just follow the development steps. Now let's make one example together. We will create a check sheet for a process that forms radiator tubes. This process is making too much scrap due to the internal diameter is out of limits. The process includes 3 machines that make the same type of tubing after setup. The improvement team requires to capture the internal diameter of this process to understand how each machine is behaving and make decisions from there. Let's follow the steps. The first step is to define the product or process. In this case, is the tube forming. More specific, the check of the internal diameters of the tubes from every machine. Define the traceability of the check sheet. Who's the inspector taking the measurement, what machines the tubes are coming from, and what measurement equipment is to be used, like a caliper, for example. Include the dates of when the data is going to be taken, and add a quick instruction. The measurements are to be taken twice a day, beginning and mid-shift, for a week period. Now let's design the sheet. The expected tube diameter can be between 10.5 to 10.8 millimeters. The resolution of the caliper is 0.1 millimeters. We can expand the measurement range from 10 millimeters to 11.3 millimeters with intervals of 0.1 millimeters each. On the vertical axis, we will divide the occurrences by 5, and that makes our check sheet. Now the inspector can be trained on how to measure the internal diameter with the caliper and how to capture it in the check sheet. Because we have 3 machines, the most recommended way to capture the data is having 3 separate check sheets, one per each machine. Start capturing the traceability information, names, machine, dates, then start populating the measurements according to the instruction, one line per each measure taken that fits the dimension. At the end of the period proposed to capture data, the team must decide if we have enough. If all agree, we can start comparing data from each machine against the specification limits and against the other machines. Overall, we can see that 3 machines have only one peak. 2 of them are fairly well centered with only few observed measurements out of limit. And 1 machine is skewed to the right, with quite a few observed measurements out of limits. This would be a good clue for the improvement team to concentrate efforts on fixing this machine first, to reduce the defects significantly from this process. Alright, let's do a quick summary of what we just learned. We learned that a check sheet is a tool that helps to systematically capture and display data in a structured way. They can be easily adaptable to a wide variety of purposes. The most common check sheets are defective type, defect location, process distribution, and checkup. And we learn how to create a check sheet with an example. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to learn more about quality tools, subscribe to my channel, or follow my pages, or visit my website, learnwithcup.com, where you can find more video tutorials like this. I'll see you in the next video.